Welcome to Nova Game Demos. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jason. And today, we're going to be going on a journey to the French city of Carcassonne.
Today we're demoing Carcassonne. Carcassonne is a 2 to 5 player tile laying game. It's 13 plus for ages and takes about 40 minutes to compete a full game.
So Dave and I are going to be builders, building in and around the area around the French city of Carcassonne, and we're completing to be the most successful builder. And we do this by laying tiles that'll have either fields or castles or monasteries or roads. And depending upon what we do with our workers around those individual tiles, that will determine how we score points and who will be the ultimate victor of the game. So now to give you a bit more information on it, let's break it down.
Break it down.
Break it down!
With Carcassonne you get 5 different color meeples. There's 8 of each, but 1 will be used for your scoreboard.
So the different color meeples in the game Carcassonne, they're used to be workers on the cards or the tiles that you're laying as you're building the city. And we'll explain what the different worker types are as the tiles come up. For our game, we're playing with the river expansion. The river expansion really adds a level of definedness to the initial parts of the game, so it really makes sure that we're following all the river. Basically, when you're laying a tile to the river, it has to connect to the other river tiles, and then we'll explain how other tiles connect to each other as we pull them up.
It also includes this nice scoreboard, and as I mentioned, you always put 1 meeple to start on the scoreboard.
And don't get too hung up on the score in Carcassonne. While it is a great way to check to see how you're doing versus your peers and everything like that, it's not really something that you need to get too hung up on, because at the end of the game, there's some final scoring that takes into account where your meeples are at, and they may not have counted yet, but somebody who isn't necessarily in contention when the final starts could all of a sudden jump ahead of everybody and be the leader.
And then we got the tiles themselves.
So the different tiles have different abilities and that sort of thing, and we'll kind of break those down for you now.
So this first tile we'll look at has part of a city.
So with the city tiles, what's going to happen after you lay the tile on the board, you can put your minion, put one of your guys in the city. And if you choose to place a minion, a meeple in the city, they will be known as a knight. And the way that the knight minions are going to be scored is they'll score once the city is completed. So you have to have walls surrounding the entirety of your city. Once there are walls around the whole city, that minion will score immediately and go back into your pool of workers. And you'll score 2 points per tile in the city, unless the city tile has a little shield symbol on it, and we'll get into those as well if and when they come up during our game.
So our next tile here has a road.
So with the road tiles, you can choose to place your meeple on the road, and if you do put your meeple on the road, he's considered a robber. The way robbers work is they will score 1 point for each tile in the road, and they will score when the road is completely finished. So it has a defined start and a defined end point to the road, and that's when it will be finished, and you'll score that meeple and get him back into your worker stash.
Next one here we have a monastery and a road.
So on the monastery tiles, you can place a meeple in the monastery and they're considered a monk. The way that the monk points are scored is you gain 1 point for each tile that's around the monastery, and you will complete your monastery when you have all 9 tiles around it fully completed. That's when you'll get your minion back into your worker pool, and you'll score the full 9 points that are possible for a monastery.
And we're back to just a road.
Yeah, so this road tile also has quite a bit of field in it. And what can happen is you can also choose to play a minion in the field, and he'll be considered a farmer. Farmers score higher than most of the other minions, but they don't score until the end of the game. So when you commit one of your meeples to being a farmer, he's not going to come back into your worker pool like your other meeples would as a knight or a robber or a monk in the monastery.
And our next tile we have here, again, is just field.
So that's really the breakdown of all the individual tiles that we have in the game. So at this point, what I think is going to be best is we're going to switch over to our play demo and give you guys an idea of how the play works and get you a feel for the game. So let's play the game.
Let's give it a go.
Welcome to the practical demo portion of our Carcassonne video. For this video, I am over on this side of the camera as per normal.
I'm over here.
So we already have placed the starting tile for the river expansion on the table. Each of the different versions of Carcassonne have their own delineated starting tiles, so there's always a set starting point. As I had mentioned earlier, with the river expansion, when you draw it, the rivers have to attach to the river. That's the main piece, so any cities and things, we ignore they're attaching to each other for the purposes of the river. So here's our first piece that I'm drawing, and I'm drawing just a bend of the river and I'm going to attach it there. And I am going to choose to put a farmer in that field.
My first move, I have another bend, and I'm going to put that right here, and I'll put a farmer on the opposite field.
Now here is a monastery, so this is going to be the first look at the monasteries. I'm going to choose to put them in this way. And I am going to put this guy as a monk in the monastery.
So here, see, we have a river and a road. And I'm going to put it this way and put a thief on the road.
Just a straight piece of river tile. I'll set there, and I'm going to forgo putting a farmer on the fields.
Here we have a city piece with a river and a road. So I'm going to lay that up here, and I'm going to put a meeple in the city.
I also have a city piece. So I'm going to lay it up here. And I am also going to place a knight in my city.
Here's another straight river piece. Continue on this way, and I will forgo putting a farmer down.
Piece of river with the road. And I will put a robber on that road. Try and steal me some points.
I get a river piece with two city pieces. We'll put that here. And in this case, if you choose to put a meeple in the city, just choose which city you want to put him in. I'm going to put him in the closer city.
Now, as well, you can only place one meeple per tile, no matter what. So even though there may be multiple places where you can place, you're limited to a single meeple on any given tile that you lay down, and your opponent cannot place a meeple on a tile that you lay. And that is the final piece of the river expansion, which is just the end of the river, and again, I'm not going to put anything in the field. The reason why we hold back on putting out our farmers is, again, you don't score those farmers and get them back till the end of the game. So the farmers that we've laid down now, we won't get those back in our meeple stash, whereas our other meeples, if we complete those roads or complete those cities, we'll score them and get them back.
So I'll take the first of the regular tiles. So here we just see a bended road. So I'm just going to put that down here, and I already have a meeple on this road, so that road will continue on with that meeple.
I also just have a piece of bent road, and I am going to continue on with my road up here, because it's going to make it more difficult for Dave to finish that city that he has, and it's going to give me another point.
So here we have a steeple for monastery. So these kind, as you can see, it's all grass around, so you have to attach it to grass. So I'm going to put him right there and put a meeple on.
Now again, remember the way the monasteries score is when you fill in all 9 sides around it. So by putting it there, Dave already has 3 sides of that filled in, so it's a pretty strategically good spot to place it. Now I have a crossroads here. So crossroads have to attach to a road, but we also have to make sure that all roads attach to each other if possible. So I'm going to put the crossroads up here, which will make an end to this set of road that I'm working on. So now once there's an end on this side as well, this side here, then we'll be able to score that robber.
So my next one here, I have a city piece.
Notice on this city piece there's also a shield.
Up here.
That shield means that it will be worth a bonus 2 points in the city that scores.
So as you can see, I kind of wanted to place it there, but that road prevents me from doing that, so that won't work. I can put it up here.
And there's just a city piece with an end to it. So I am going to start to close off my city that I'm building up here.
Again, the reason we're not putting meeples on these ones is we already have people for that city, so you can't put another meeple in. And here I have 2 city pieces. So what I'll do here is close off this city. So in this city, all the walls are now touching each other, so that city is considered complete. So you score 2 points per city tile that meeple is attached to with the city. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But there's also a shield, so that counts as an additional 2.
So we're going to give 8 blue points, blue 8 points, and blue will get their meeple back, which goes back into a stash. Now Dave can still place a meeple on the tile if he wishes to for this round.
Which I will.
So now that's the end of Dave's turn, and it's my turn to go again, so I will draw. Now there's a road with a I'm going to put that here, and what I'm going to choose to do is put a meeple on that road for the piece I just laid. Because there's an end on both sides of the road, I immediately get my meeple back, which gives me 2 more points. That puts us up to 14. That's how the roads score. So I think we'll leave off our demo here. I think that gives you a good idea of how the game is played. We would just continue playing through until all the tiles are out on the board, and then there's a final scoring where, for example, any monasteries that are not scored, you're going to gain 1 point for each tile that's already around the monastery, and so on and so forth for 1 point each road. And it's a single point per tile in the cities at the final scoring, and then you count up your farmers, gives you your final count at the end, and figure out who the overall winner is.
And there you have it. So that was Carcassonne.
Thanks very much for taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed our video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions or anything that we didn't cover in the video, please feel free to put that in the comments section. We'll do our best to answer it as soon as we can. We'll leave a link as usual in the description for where you can go and pick up the game. As well, you can see that there's a couple different expansions that I left on the table here for Carcassonne. There's quite a few different expansions out there that can really add to the replayability of Carcassonne and expand what you have to choose from or to play from. Some of the expansions can really complicate it as time goes on, but once you get some players that are played through it a few times, it can add to the extra levels of fun by increasing the types of characters that you can pull from. Thanks as always for watching, and be sure to plow those fields and guard those roads.
Thanks everyone. See you next time.